Thank you for the invitation. Thank you all for attending. I'm very interested in Bitcoin for a number of years now, and I think that being a professor at FGV is enormous privilege. I should have to pay them, and not they pay me, because it's such a great privilege. I've taught many people in the central bank, many people in the Brazilian IRS, in the Receita Federal, many people from the armed forces. And so it's really a privilege, and also, of course, from the market. So it's really a privilege to have. I'm launching actually a company in Silicon Valley with a bunch of kids, the PhD students, and we're launching a company in Palo Alto. I'm a computer science by training, and I did my PhD, master's, everything in computer science. And I've been programming computers. I'm 44 years old. And I've been programming computers since I was 14. And I have never seen anything like the code in Bitcoin. It's just something different. It's just, I don't know who did it. I cannot speculate. But if you look at the code in Bitcoin, I mean, the word Bitcoin sounds like a toy, sounds like something so silly that you cannot, really take it seriously. And that's what I call the first rule of, the first rule of Bitcoin is that every single person in the world, as soon as they know about Bitcoin, they have an immediate opinion without studying, without thinking about it, without reading more about it. They read some news and they have an immediate opinion, generally against Bitcoin. But if you study Bitcoin, if you study how it works, you will be very impressed. The technology is really quite an achievement, and it's way bigger than a currency. It's just something undescribably powerful. And this is military-grade cryptography. This is a robust, decentralized network. You can kill any computer in there. You can throw fire at it. Bitcoin will not be affected in any way. Okay, let me start in the beginning. So the network looks like this. I mean, if you take out the Bitcoin logo, the network looks like decentralized, and this is extremely, extremely powerful. Any computer in the network is not special at all. I'm going to talk first about the blockchain, and then I'm going to talk about Bitcoin, the currency. So these are two different ideas, and I'm going to try to respond to the scarcity question. There are some technicalities that, I mean, maybe my explanation won't be so complete. We need more time than we have. But then again, about the question on gold, do you know how much gold Brazil has in reserves? We have 67 tons in gold reserves. Do you know how much Greece has? Greece has double what we have. So I think we're a little short on that side. But anyways, I worked for a little while on the Club of Rome with President Fernando Henrique Cardoso, and we took this picture at his office, and I like him a lot. He brought down hyperinflation. He's one of the people that brought down hyperinflation here. And I see young faces here who have no idea what a disaster hyperinflation has been for us older folks. And but this is just a photo, and a photo is just a digital file. It's just this digital file. I can send any digital file to as many people as I want. I can replicate it, in numerous ways. And so how can a digital file become scarce, right? How can you do it? How can you build a system in which it is scarce? This is what in Bitcoin we call the double spending problem, and the solution is called the blockchain. The blockchain, for me, the best analogy to understand what a blockchain is what is a notary, what we call here in Brazil como cartório. Então, quando a gente compra apartamento, you buy some real estate, and you just go to the notary and you make the contracts there, and they have everything on file. The entire history stays there. And so this is what happens in the blockchain. The entire history of transactions of Bitcoin stays there forever. And I mean, what's very, very interesting about this is that is the following property. For example, if I get my credit card number and I put it on here, I'm screwed, because you've seen the number. So anybody can use the credit card on the internet. Anybody can use that number. I have to cancel the card. But if I put a Bitcoin transaction up here, which is just a number, a large number, nothing can happen. Nobody can steal that transaction. It has a cryptographic signature saying that someone is sending this amount of Bitcoin to someone else. That's all it says, and it says in a cryptographically secure way. The same cryptography used by banks, the same cryptography used by the military. It's very strong cryptography, and the only thing that you know from there is that whoever signed that message, whoever signed this message saying somebody sent this amount of money to somebody else, they had the right to sign it. They were the proper owners of that signature. So when you hear about in the press that Bitcoin was hacked, no, Bitcoin has never been hacked. I don't think Bitcoin can be hacked. But what can be hacked is the following. This is a computer, and there is a file with these cryptographic signatures here, which we call private keys. If you can make a copy of those private keys, then you can steal the Bitcoin that this person is allowed to sign. One confusion is about that. For example, if I send you a copy of I don't know, this presentation, I have a copy and you have received another copy. There is another copy in your computer, but there is never one Bitcoin being received on your computer. This is not how it works. What happens is that we create these transactions, so saying somebody sent some amount of Bitcoin to somebody else, and they go to the blockchain and they stay there, and this somebody else now is supposed to be the only person that can actually sign cryptographically that transfer to forwards, going forwards. So this is how we are able to block people from double spending. And what happens if I have one cryptographic signature in this machine and the same cryptographic signature in this machine, and I try to send money to him and money to Elena simultaneously? I press send in one machine and I press send in the other machine. I mean, how can you block this in the network? So the idea is that these transactions, I'm going to skip forward a little bit. These transactions, they will be processed by miners, and they eventually will be collected in a block. What do I mean when I say that I've never seen code like Bitcoin? When you look at the code, when you review the source code of Bitcoin, you feel like after a couple of days studying Bitcoin, you feel like that there's this SWAT team just arrived on your house and they have 50 guns pointed to your face, and you're like, whoa, calm down, please. It's like this code is different in the way that it is constantly checking and checking and checking and checking and checking the most crazy possibilities. I mean, some of the checks are actually very funny because you would never imagine that someone would have the creativity to think of something like this. And it's always checking again, because maybe there's a virus changing the computer memory. I mean, there's so many levels of protection that I mean, the code is paranoid. It's just really staggering. And what happens is that in essence, the essence of finance is about numbers and rules. And the idea of Bitcoin is to always enforce those rules. So the thing is, what a miner does, what we say a Bitcoin mining machine does, is they make all these checks, and then if everything is correct, they go back in time. They say, I have received one Bitcoin. Okay, where did it come from, and where did that come from? And let's go back in time. Let's check all of it. And so it's like an entire auditing system, checking the entire history. And the thing is, they put it in a block. For example, block 0, the Genesis block, and then this is linked. Block 1 will be linked to block 0, and block 2 will be linked to block 1 in such a cryptographic way that it's very easy to check the consistency of the entire system. So we have two properties. To check everything, you have to do a lot of work. The computer has to make a huge number of checks, and so it's hard to calculate, and it's also easy to verify because of the cryptographic properties that the system has at the end. So you can look at the final result and see, okay, nothing has changed. If you want to change one single bit of information in block 0 here, everything afterwards will change. Everything will change. So it becomes really crucial that the system's built in such a way that it's really crucial that you can see that there are shenanigans going on. So if I reprogram this machine and say, okay, I don't have 50,000 Bitcoin, but let's just pretend I have, and I reprogram it, and I'll send 50,000 Bitcoin to you. And then what happens is that the network will say, this transaction is completely ridiculous. Where did this 50,000 come from? I mean, what are you talking about? There's no history of those 50,000 Bitcoin ever existing. So the network just rejects it. Your machine also checks it and rejects it. And the thing is because this is such a network that is distributed in all over the globe. So some people probably are mining, next door. Some people are mining in probably 2 square kilometers from here, or in Mongolia, or in China, Iceland, the United States, London, everywhere you can think about. Except for the very poorest places. people are mining, and and the thing is, if you have these enormous amounts of computers all talking to themselves about these transactions, sending information about these transactions, you have what we call a denial of service. You have just this huge amount of information coming in, and any computer by itself cannot handle it. So what a miner does, it works with something that is this is going to get technical. But what a miner does is it breaks. It breaks to a certain extent something that we call a hash function. And that takes immense amount of power, immense amount of work to do it. So, for example, if you want to have the first bit of a hash equaling 0, you only need 2 tries, and you are 100% sure that the first bit will be 0. So, if you want to have 80 bits starting with 0, then you need this number here, this last row number of tries to guarantee that you're going to have 80 bits of a hash starting with 0. So the network is, everybody's talking to each other. They're sending these Bitcoin transactions to each other. And what a miner does is, listen, it's like a bingo, okay? Only one person screams at a time. Sometimes 2 people scream simultaneously. And the same thing happens in Bitcoin. Only one miner can say bingo, can say I got a block. And he says by proving, he sends this information first, how he broke the hash to the level of difficulty that is desired at that moment, and this level of difficulty will change. So in the very beginning, it was 0. So it was the amount of work, the amount of energy and computation that needed to be done was very, it was negligible. You could do it on your iPhone, but today you have enormous mining farms in Iceland or China, in the United States, doing this work, trying to break these hashes in order to...
Okay. No, but if I understand properly, what you're saying is that you need a humongous amount of power, of computing power, to break the Bitcoin network. So basically, how much power do we need to break the network?
The estimates of the power of the network today are ridiculous. They are like hundreds of times the most powerful supercomputers in the world. So the Bitcoin network is hundreds of times more powerful than the biggest supercomputers in the world. It's giant, and this doesn't come out in the press. The press doesn't talk about it. It doesn't show how huge the mining farms are, the mining operations are. So this is something that if you are not looking at Bitcoin, it's just something that is staggering. Oh, definitely. I think the protocol. Bitcoin,
yes,
the protocol.
The question was if it's easier to hack a bank than to hack Bitcoin. Depends on the bank. No?
I don't think a network this strong. For example, in theoretical cryptography, people say that this is 80-bit secure, so we have 80-bit security. So the Bitcoin network, this was considered like, this is safe. We have 80 bits. That's a lot of bits to break. So that was in the past, because now we have one network that can do 80 bits, and it does it every 10 minutes. It's just absurd. And there are different technologies in banks, but I do not believe that this can be hacked easily. And So the network adjusts the amount of work that has to be done so that every 10 minutes a new block will come, okay? And so this is the adjustment that we've seen over the history of Bitcoin. So it starts at 0, and then it starts exploding, you know, and then we get to 80 bits of cryptographic hash breakdown. It's just staggering. So, and now we go to the second idea, the idea of money. You know, how can this become money? You know, it's like it's really strange. But I mean, when you look at these bills, you know, the $100, the 100 reais bill, the 50 reais bill, the only real difference between them, there's lots of differences in design, blah, blah, but the only real difference is the number. So finance is about numbers and about rules. So what happens here is that you have a system in which the rules are so secure, the rules are not changing. And for example, when you have what's happening now in Europe, in Greece, the rules are changing. And or the question that you have asked about why do we hold more dollars than gold? I think it's because it's something I call the historical hack. When programmers have the program isn't working and the programmers are trying to solve the program, so try to kill a bug, and then sometimes they just say, "Oh my God, it's working! What did you do? I don't know. Okay, don't touch it." So that's a hack, and we do this in history many times over and over. So I think when Nixon in 1971 he broke the seal with gold, they didn't know that it was going to work. They said, "Is it working? Oh my God! Oh yeah, it's working. Okay, don't touch it." And then momentum came on. Another one just happened, like 2008. We have too big to fail banks. We made them bigger. Is it working? Yeah, it's working. Don't touch it. Or now in Greece. I mean, Greece has a debt level that it will never be able to pay. Everybody knows it. It's a fact. And what did they do? They just increased the debt. They just gave them more debt. So it's I call these things historical hacks. But and they keep changing the rules. When you keep changing the rules, the market doesn't like that. Markets get nervous, and that's when you get people in the streets. That's when you get cocktail Molotovs flying around the streets. After the market starts collapsing, after people lose their jobs, after the difficulties start appearing. They start appearing first at the numbers and the rules, and then it goes to the streets. You have blood in the streets. So this is a Bitcoin transaction, and this is like got the presentation and video before. So we have a bunch of addresses sending some amount of Bitcoin to these other addresses, and we don't know who they are. That's the level of privacy that's offered, and there's also a fee. So a miner, there are these two things now. These unconfirmed transactions that everybody's sending to everybody else, and the miner is creating this chain of blocks. And if you want to change the past, if you want to say, "Oh no, I had $1 million, last week. Where is it? It's gone." If you want to change the past, you have to change everything from there. I mean, it's going to be very easy to verify that somebody is trying to trick you in Bitcoin. And so the miner is like it gets fees from transactions, and it also gets newly generated Bitcoin. That's the monetary policy of Bitcoin. So the block reward, in the beginning when I was looking at it, it was 50 Bitcoin per 10 minutes. Now it's 25 Bitcoin. And mining, Bitcoins is just the rush to get the next block on the chain. And And so we have a transaction that is not on the blockchain still. So it's considered unconfirmed, and so it's not safe to say that to accept this yet, because I could have sent it from this computer and sent it from this other computer to someone else, and so that what the miner will do is say, oh, this is a double spend. This person is trying to send the same thing 2 times, and that's against the rules. So I'm just going to take one of those, and the other I'll ignore completely and delete forever. And so the network is able to delete these double spends, and this is how we have this digital scarcity. Also, because of the declining rate of Bitcoin production, in 1 year from now, more or less, 365 days from now, the rate of Bitcoin production will decrease from 25 Bitcoin to 12.5 Bitcoin, will be decreased in half. And then it will be decreased again in half over 4 years, after 4 years, and then decrease again in half until the day it's 0. And no more Bitcoin will ever be produced. And so this is the blockchain, and you see that there are some forks. This is like 2 people screaming bingo at the same time. And 2 miners, they have broken the hash more or less simultaneously. And and how the network works is that you always accept the longest chain. You look at the longest chain, and that's the one that has more computational power devoted to it, and that's the one you take. So sometimes you have a tie, but the tie will soon be broken. And here's where I think things really get interesting for regulators, because of the potential of this. We have transaction scripts. We have this little, it's like orders that we are giving to in the transaction. We are saying, oh, this is how I want my transaction to happen, and they are so useful. There are so many things that can be built. There are things that I cannot imagine yet. I mean, there are things that we can not even imagine yet. So this is why this technology is so interesting and powerful. So you can have, for example, contracts embedded in the blockchain. You can, for example, if you have $1 billion contract, or if you have a 10,000 reais contract, you can have a proof that this contract existed, this exact document existed. You can stamp it on the blockchain. This is just one of the things that you can do. And so there's this cryptographic proof that the document existed, it was signed, and then if somebody tries to forge it in the future, you can say, oh no, you're forged. This is not the document that we can see in the blockchain. And we have coin-join microtransactions that we're going to talk about later, and we have multi-signatures, which is, for example, having scroll. So, for example, I am selling something, he's buying something, and what does eBay do? What do the credit cards company do? And there's a dispute between us. After a while, the credit card company gets in the middle. They say, oh, okay, let me check what really happened and say, and who gets the money. So you can have scroll inside the Bitcoin protocol by having multi-signatures. And there's many things that can be built on top of this. So when I think about the regulation, I think about this. Bitcoin is very controversial for us, but this is a technology that's very robust. This is a decentralized network. any node can go away. You can arrest as many people as you want, but it doesn't change anything. I mean, the network will keep moving. I mean, some people will be doing drugs, yes. Some people will be doing bad things. Some people will become rich, yes. But some people will become rich with our normal currencies, and some people will do drugs with our normal currency. Maybe there's a little bit of cocaine in here. I hear that's what they say. That's what they tell me. But anyway, I think the next Steve Jobs, this is Windows copied Steve Jobs' ideas, and he built the Macintosh, he built the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone, Pixar, the Apple II. He has made so many revolutions. I mean, this guy is one in a billion kind of entrepreneur. And maybe the next Steve Jobs is in Brazil. Maybe he's in Argentina. Maybe, I mean, these days, today, it doesn't cost too much to do a startup, do real technology. So the next Steve Jobs, I mean, it's probably going to come up sooner than we think. And these days, every 14-year-old kid has a computer. So the next Steve Jobs is out there. And when I think of regulation, I think telling this kid, saying to this kid, well, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you have to have the approval of this, or you can have many levels of approvals. This will take away so much wealth. And there's global competition. London wants to become a Bitcoin hub, one of the global centers of innovation in cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. So that's, when I think about regulation, I think that Japan has taken the best approach. They basically said, okay, you guys self-regulate, okay? But if Bitcoin goes to zero and there's a big problem, and the cryptography, we thought it was good, but the cryptography, the new theorem from this genius shows that the cryptography falls apart and people lose money. Not a single cent from the public. I mean, you want to take the risk, you go and you take the risk. But not a single cent from the public purse will go to bail out, to help you out. If, we're not going to take money from poor people to bail out if this thing goes bad. But you are free to do it. You can do it. And I think Japan is just the best example so far of regulation. And this is it. Thanks for listening. Thanks very much.